There are people in the world who hold a space so rare, so honest, that simply being in it changes you. Fiona Mary Ferrar is one of those people. She works with powerful men, leaders who have built extraordinary lives, and she meets them exactly where they are. Not with strategies or frameworks, but with truth, with presence, with a kind of care that does not flinch. In the Being movement, in the lineage of what Steve Hardison and the Ultimate Coach book and community have made possible, the document is an act of declaration, of becoming, of writing down not what you've done, but who you are. Fiona doesn't just know this work intellectually, she lives it. And the men she works with will tell you it changed everything. Their leadership, their relationships, the way they move through the world. What you're about to witness is Fiona bringing that fully. Her story, her experience of the document, and a conversation with people who showed up in the room that day. I am grateful for the team of the document creation group for having created this opportunity, and I'm glad you're here for it.
I don't know how she became the beginning facilitator for the Way of Mastery, but she studied it very much, I know. And she wants to tell us how parallel to her. There's a lot of things in that book, maybe Steve's book, the Ultimate Coach, or some other things. But anyway, she's got some super different ideas that will be really interesting for us to hear.
Thank you, ladies. I guess I start at the beginning, really, of what the document means to me and how it all began. And when I cast my mind right back to when I first experienced anything like the document, it was actually with Rich Litvin, probably in 2019. And he introduced it to me, and he called it the manifesto. And I loved the idea of it. I didn't really understand it. And then I came across Steve Hardison and his work. And in 2020, the Ultimate Coach book was launched. And I actually did my first playing with the document in a way that I now know is not the way to deal with a document. I was working with another coach who had been one of Steve's clients, John Patrick Morgan, and I understood the point of the declarative nature of I am statements. And so I'd heard Steve talk about it. I'd read about it in the book. I know JP had a document, and I knew Rich had this manifesto. So I went about creating a list of aspirational I am statements that I thought I could work with. And sadly, what actually happened over time was they actually made me feel worse about myself than I started out feeling, because every time I recited them, my inner voice just went, yeah, but you're not, are you? And here's all the reasons why. And so when I actually came to create my document, or having worked with JP, and he put together a training on this, I realized that the I am statements they are not affirmations. They are new truths that are born out of forgiveness. And the piece that I'd missed was the forgiveness process. So I'd gone through and kind of looked at all the judgments that I had, and then I'd kind of flipped the pancake and made them the opposite. And now I'm trying to be love and kindness and all things wonderful. And it just really wasn't working for me. So when I actually created my document, which was August 2021, I just bought this house, and we weren't moved in, and we had very little furniture. So I had a desk, and I had my laptop, and I had a chair, and I use little cards, and I wrote all my non-useful thinkings. I spent a week on non-useful thinking, and I wrote them all on little cards, and they were all over my desk. And then I spent a week in forgiveness of those non-useful thinking statements. And that first week was, I know JP used to call it Hell Week, because you really come to face yourself in that week or in that period of time. And you get to have a really good look at the things that you probably don't want to share with anyone else, the thinking, the stuff that goes on in your mind, the judgments that you have, not just of yourself, but of others. So it's quite a humbling process to reveal yourself to yourself without excuses. And then came the second week of spending. I spent a lot of time. I did all sorts of forgiveness processes, from Ho'oponopono. I did some inner child work with a coach, and then from that forgiveness, you can bring about a new truth. And forgiveness, it clears the space for the new truth to arise. So it's almost never a flipping of a pancake. It's almost never an opposite of whatever the judgment was. It's an opportunity to allow a deeper and more honest and divine truth about who you really are to express itself. And at the end of this 3-week period, I had more or less the document that I still have. There have been a few tweaks over the years, but essentially it's exactly the same document that I've been working with now for 5 years. And so I used to read it. I'd read it most days, but I hadn't embedded it into my bones, if you like. So it was framed. I've got one copy in front of me there. I have a copy on my wall here. So it was framed. I could see it. I'd recorded it. I listened to it. And actually it was in a conversation with Ankush Jain, and I'm laughing because he really he got me. We were having a conversation, and he said, would you like me to tell you how you occur for me? And my ego went, yeah, I'd love that. And he went, just hang on a minute. And he had to go and do something, and he came back and he said, before I do that, Fiona, he said, would you tell me who you are? And I went, oh, I haven't got my document in front of me. I know you want me to do my document, but I don't have it in front of me. Oh, and I got all a bit fidgety, and he just said, you've told me everything I need to know. Which was like, oh, gut punch. Oh gosh, he's caught me there. And I had lots of excuses. I had lots of reasons. I had reasons that I have dyslexia. It's hard for me to memorize things. And, I had all sorts of excuses as to why that I hadn't done the next step. But that really kind of brought it to me that having this on paper is nice. Even memorizing it is good, but this doesn't happen in your mind. It happens in your being, it happens in your heart. And so the next step for me was to learn this by heart. So I knew all the lines, but I didn't know them in an order at that point. So my next step was to have this with me always. So it's no longer a doing, it's a being. If you're reading your document, it's a doing. Shifting from that doing to being your document requires that you resonate with it at a soul level, essentially. And so that was really the beginning of when the magic started to happen with my document. The early iterations of reading it, that was great, and things were changing. But when I could sit with somebody and speak all, 26 lines of my document, that's when it really shifted. So now it's an everyday part of my world. It forms and I remember hearing Steve Hardison say this, it's a place to get to and a place to come from in equal measure. So it forms a platform to stand on, and when you forget, it's a place to come back to. Does anyone have any questions about anything I've said so far before I take it on? And I have Jeff here with me. We created your document together, didn't we? And he created a beautiful, beautiful document.
With your help, Fiona, with your guidance, thank you.
Yeah, very, very, very welcome. Can I ask you how it's impacted you? Because it's been a while since.
Yeah, it has, and it's probably a pertinent question at this point, because I think at the start of this year you and I had a quick conversation, and the parting comment for you was, "Jeff, can I ask you to recommit to your document?" So the coach had cast the gauntlet, and I really have done. I'll be honest with you, it wasn't straight away. I think I've been working with Sundance this year, one-to-one, and I'm part of his men's group. And part of that men's group is document creation, so it was the perfect segue into talking with other people that were maybe a little bit further behind than me with what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I have committed to it. And I was saying to Sundance a couple of weeks ago, it really feels just recently that something really has shifted. And I don't know what that is. I have committed to reading it more regularly. I'm speaking it to people who are interested. And then that always engenders a conversation around, what is this? Why have you got it? So I think all those things are taking me deeper. And next week, I have my sister visiting from Australia. And I'm going to see my parents in August, and I've committed to myself to speak it to them. And I'm absolutely very, very nervous about this, because it's the people you love, the people that are front and center. But I know that it's going to land with them because they're all mentioned in there. So this is kind of,
and they know you.
Yeah, I know.
They won't be surprised.
Oh, this is the process I'm going through, and I think it's just pushing yourself to that edge with little bits at each stage is really starting to get it into your bones, as you've said.
Yeah.
So
beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you raised some great points. It's the commitment to it, because each line of my document, it's like it's an inch wide and a mile deep. And having been with more or less the same document for 5 years, and it's still serving me. I'm still, in fact, it's probably serving me more deeply now than it did 2 years ago. Because as life happens and things appear out there in the world, and I meet those things, my document just comes alive again. There's always a line. I have a line for pretty much every single opportunity that life throws to me. So the first line, my document's entitled, I Am, I Create, and So It Is. The first line of my document is, I am unending, boundless love, unconditional kindness, and compassionate care for all beings. If that's all I ever had, that was the only line I could remember from my document, it's enough. Because if I am that in every moment of my life, if I am truly being unending, boundless love, unconditional kindness, and compassionate care for all beings, including myself, what more do I need? So for me, the first line of the document is a very important one because it sets up the rest of the document. And Jan, you spoke about the way of mastery. So before I went to see Steve for a Be With a couple of years ago, he asked me to read The Way of Mastery. And I read it in about 6 months between when he asked me to read it and when I was seeing him. And it's quite a big book. It's 3 years worth of lessons. So I condensed it into 6 months, and I got to the end of reading it, and I was like, oh, wow, that was amazing. It was like I'd just eaten a bar of chocolate and hadn't really tasted it. I hadn't savored it. I'd just read it and went, oh, I know that was amazing. And I want more. And it was in that kind of space that I thought, right, I actually need to read this book as it was written or as it was channeled, which was 1 month at a time, one lesson, 1 month over a 3-year period. And I remember the kind of inner conversation I was having with myself, like, well, that's crazy. Who reads a book for 3 years? That's just nuts. And then the nudge came and said, well, you're going to invite other people to read it with you as well. And I was like, that's even more crazy. Who's going to want to read it with me for 3 years? And so when I sat in Steve's office, I told him that this was what I had committed to doing. And he was like, in 10 years, you can have studied this book 3 times. Imagine who you'll be then. And I was like, wow, that's extraordinary. So that was oh, Amy Sue's echoing. Yeah, there we go. That was the inception of Being the Way of Mastery, which is a group that Janine Hurst, or Joy as she's known, and I have created for other people who wish to study the Way of Mastery. And the reason I'm speaking about the Way of Mastery is that hidden within the text of this book is the document. It speaks, in my mind, it speaks so very clearly to our default way of being, the way we've grown up to be, how we've been created upon as children by our caregivers and society and all of those things, that we arrive in adulthood with a set of unquestioned declarations of who we are. So I'm a good girl, I'm a bad girl, I'm a great student, I'm a terrible student, I'm sporty, I'm not sporty. I'm whatever has been created upon you throughout your life. You're an A grade student, you're a dropout, whatever it is, you've arrived in adulthood with a very defined outline of who you are in the world, what's possible, what's not possible. I do this, I don't do that. I drink, I don't drink, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. And we wear this default document on us. It's not who we are. It's a set of parameters that we've just grown up in. And until we question those things will always dictate what we're able to do and who we can be. So if we've grown up with a belief that I'm not good enough, I'm worthless, I'm stupid, I'm this, I'm that, that's going to create the arena for your performance of life. And so when we look beneath what's put on us, we find that we are innocent. We are born innocent. Now, whatever your beliefs are, spiritual beliefs, whether you believe in a God, the God, Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, it doesn't matter what your belief system is. The Way of Mastery speaks through all of those things to what I consider to be a truth. And that truth is we are divinely connected. We are all one. We're all made of the same stardust, or as it calls, it says we're all sunbeams to the sun. And so our truth, our deepest truth is we are innocent and we are Christ-like or Buddha mind or whatever. And then life has created upon us to create this version, this Fiona, this personality. And it's not until we question that we see that our limitlessness and our all possibility lives in a different space. So for me, the document creation is allowing yourself a different set of parameters. It's still not the truth of who you are, I don't believe. It's just somebody I heard, I think it was Townsend Wardlaw said, it's just a better set of lies. Because it's still not really who you are, because you are divine truth. But the default document, it's not, and not that your default document is all bad. It's not. There's some great stuff in all of us. But what we're looking for are the bits, the I am statements, the declarative parts of who we are that cause us the most problems. The good stuff, we don't need to worry about that. It's like if I was sitting here and there was a dog barking outside my window, now the bark would tell me a little bit about the dog. It would probably tell me a little bit about its temperament. It might tell me maybe the size of the dog by whether it's a high pitch or a low pitched bark. But it's not going to tell me anything about the dog until I actually get up out of my seat and go look for the dog. And when I find the dog, I can find out why it's barking. And that might be that it's tied up, or it's hurt itself, or it's shut in a house, or not been fed, or so. And then I can go with kindness and I can help the dog. And that's what will quieten it down. There's no point me shouting out of my window at it. It's not going to stop. Now, out there isn't just one dog. There's hundreds of dogs out there, most of which are playing in the park, getting tummy rubs, eating a bone, having a great time, and not barking. So we don't need to worry about the dogs that are happy. We only need to notice the dogs that are barking, and we need to go and be kind and forgiving and help those. So what we're looking at when we create a document is we're looking for the barking dogs. We're looking for the bits that are irritating, causing you issues, making you do things you don't want to do, influencing your choices that aren't necessarily supporting the life you want to have. So when it comes to creating your document, you're creating a set of guidelines that optimize your ability to live the life you actually want to be living. Does anyone have any questions? No, you're all very quiet.
Fiona, I found it was interesting when I did my document, we had a group, and we did it twice. So the first round we did in a 30-day period, right, Renata? Was it 30 days the first time? And we broke up into triads so that we had people to, help us with. And my triad bailed on me, so it was just me. So what I put together was exactly what you spoke of. I just made it up. I just made up I am statements. And I thought, this is from my head. So I understand what you're saying. Second time, we spent 2 months and we made sure everybody had a triad, no matter what. Yeah. And I talked to Igor for a second, and he said the most important thing is the forgiveness. Because we didn't understand that, my little triad. We didn't understand that the forgiveness.
And that's the bit everyone misses.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks, oh, I'll just write all these wonderful things about myself and try and live into them. And you can't, because when Karan Rai spoke in London, he said, you will never outdo who you are being. And that's a profound statement. So all the, I am great with money, I am great with money is not going to make you great with money. You have to look at the judgments about money and your belief systems around money, do some forgiveness around that, and create a whole new truth that you are experiencing in relationship to money. And I think what you raised there, Jan, is really important. I'm not a great fan of people creating their own documents without a witness, without someone to support them to go deeper, because the mind's a wily thing. It'll just make something up. And so what I do when I'm creating documents, I create them with all my clients. It's the first thing we do. Because what's the point of coaching the default document? Let's get you to a different way of being so you can create from that space. So that's the very first thing I do. But we talk about resonance. So I use the example of a tennis racket. You could pretty much any game that involves a bat and a ball of some description. For me, it was tennis. So when I used to play tennis, when I would hit the ball and it would hit the sweet spot in the center of that racket, I would hear it, I would feel it, and I would know it's going in. It was like just, you can hear it in cricket. You hear a cricket ball hit a cricket bat in the sweet spot, and you know that ball's going far. It'll be the same in any sport. So when I create documents with people, I'm looking for resonance in their statements. So when they're doing the forgiveness process and really you can't do the I forgive myself for judging myself up here. It doesn't work. You have to get into I forgive myself for judging myself. And I might have them say that over and over again until I hear that they're in that space. And then we get to the new truth. And we might have several what feels more true for me. Peter McCammon uses the example of when his wife goes to try on clothes in a clothing store, and when you take in several coat hangers worth of clothing and you try something on and you go, oh no, not that. And that goes on the hook. I'm not buying that. And then you try something else on and you go, yeah, I quite like that. That's on the maybe hook. And then you try one on and you go, that's it. That's the one. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for the one that fits. So in that creation process, we're looking for resonance and we're looking for the one that actually fits. And I don't think doing this by yourself, you can really, you kind of get to a that'll do when the shop hasn't got, the shop hasn't got it in your size. So you try a size bigger and you go, yeah, I think that'll be okay. But it doesn't actually fit. So I think you need someone to listen and help you really get to that sweet spot. So when you speak your document, it resonates through you. It's not a I am unending, boundless love, unconditional kindness, and compassionate care for all beings. I am open-hearted joy. That's not going to move you. Your document needs to move you at a deep level. And so when you're speaking it, I usually speak mine in the shower in the mornings. I often speak it if I wake up in the middle of the night. I start speaking my document. I say it throughout the day. I see parts of it throughout the day. And it's funny because if I'm trying to speak it while I'm doing other things, I can't focus. I don't focus well on it and I forget bits and lose my way and what have you. So it's like a prayer. It's like your own personal prayer of this is who I'm creating myself to be in every moment of every day, in every circumstance. Now, am I perfectly my document? No. Completely a work in progress here. Because just as you peel one layer of the onion, oh, there's another layer of the onion right there. So I don't know that I will ever exhaust this document. I don't know that I'll ever change it. And I think a lot of people, when they create their own, they keep changing it. Don't change it. Stay with what you've created. If you've got a resonant document, stay with it. Get it to a point where it's solidified and work on becoming and being that. You don't need to keep bringing in, that's like my wardrobe's full of clothes and I don't know what to wear. You just need a few good things that look great, feel great, and work for you. The Buffett document. What do you mean? What do you mean? Oh, the buffet. The buffet. Yeah, the buffet. Yeah. I was thinking Warren Buffett for some reason. The buffet. Yeah, the buffet document. So I think for me, this has been a profound journey because I've been in personal development for a very long time, and I had a hypnotherapy practice, and I was doing NLP, and I've been doing this work for a long time, and I've always used to wonder why people would make so much progress and then slip back. And being was the answer, because until you shift at the level of being, it's always sitting underneath your doings. So if I'm being loving, my actions will follow. But if I'm being, I don't know, selfish, or stingy, it doesn't matter if I try and do loving things, there will always be that underlying transactional something that's coming through. I love you when, I love you if. And there is no transaction in love. So if I am loving, that's everybody. If I am unending, boundless love, what does that mean? Unending, boundless love. And even 5 years later, that statement has changed again for me, because I now see, through studying the way of mastery, that love is everything. Everything arises in love. I used to think of love and fear as like a polarity, like with love at one end and fear at the other, and we were somewhere along that line. And I don't see that anymore. I see it as even putting it in the sense of a cauldron still puts parameters on it, but for want of a better explanation, it's like a cauldron of love, and everything arises in that cauldron of love. So fear, anger, hatred, everything arises within that. And when it arises to the top and we can witness it from love, it evaporates, it heals. So even that one statement, the first statement of my document, it has changed. My perception of it has changed over time. And it was born from a realization that I had no idea what love was, because I didn't have any self-love. And that was a realization I had at the very first ultimate experience in Phoenix in 2020, 21 maybe, the very first one that Judy did, and meeting Steve for the first time and hearing him speak about self-love, and having this massive realization that I considered myself a very loving person. I love my son, I love my mom, I love my husband, I love my friends, I love people. But I didn't love me. So if my love for others was sitting on a foundation of no love for myself, what did it mean here? What did that love for all those people mean if it didn't have a strong foundation of real self-love? So that's appears in I am, that self-love is the foundation of all love and conscious creation. It sits there in my document. And I knew I didn't love myself because I could look in the mirror and I could say the meanest things to me, things that I wouldn't even dream of saying to another human being, but I could say it to me. And that's how I knew I didn't love myself, because if I loved myself, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't look at my body and go, look at the state of you, which is how I used to talk to myself, and worse. And I would declare myself as ugly and fat, and nobody would work with me, because who'd want to work with somebody who looked like that? And you're old and you're this and you're that. If somebody who loves you doesn't say that, so the forgiveness piece of really seeing that when I judge myself that way, I judge others in the same way. So that lack of self-love would feed into judgments of others. And I found that the place where it expressed itself the most was when I was driving. My judgments would appear very easily. I'd have something to say about middle lane drivers and people who pulled out on me at roundabouts and all sorts of stuff. And now it just doesn't happen now. It's not that I've become, no, I don't swear at other drivers. It's that I just don't think that anymore. Somebody pulls out on me and I might be like, oh, and I stop the car, but I'm not giving him the flipping the bird and giving him what for, because I've pulled out on people, not intentionally, but we've all made mistakes. We've all driven through a red light. We've all, zoned out for a moment. So who am I to judge another person? And it comes from not judging me. Jan, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, my question for you is, how long did it take you to get from writing your document and driving without yelling at drivers?
Without yelling at people.
Yeah, no, or feeling like, that.
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. I suppose it's hard to answer because it's gradual. It just starts happening less and less. So when we change in here, out there changes all by itself because we experience it differently. So, I believe that if everything is neutral, so out here, it's raining. We've just got rain. And the rain is the rain. It's not good rain. It's not bad rain. It's inherently nothing. It's just rain, completely neutral. But who I'm being when I come along and I meet the rain is how I will experience it. So if I'm being that we've not had any rain for weeks and the garden's dry and the reservoirs are dry and there's no water in the taps and it's raining, I'm going to be like, yes, it's raining. Fantastic. This rain is going to be the best rain ever. But if I'm being that I've just had my hair done and spent a whole load of money and I'm trying to get to the car and it's pouring with rain, this rain becomes different rain. Suddenly it's like, bloody rain. God, I hate the rain. So who we're being when we experience life, whatever life is how we experience it. So if I'm being Mrs. Angry Driver, I'm going to have a lot of judgments and the drivers on the road are going to be terrible drivers and they all shouldn't be on the road and I'm the only one who knows how to drive a car. But if I'm being loving and forgiving, then what they're doing out here changes completely. So I think in answer to your question, it's very gradual as who you're being shifts and changes, because it's not a switch. It doesn't switch on and off. It's a noticing of, oh, I forgot I'm unending boundless love. And it's in the moment where you get to do like a mini version of the forgiveness process of, oh, I forgive myself for judging myself as someone who thinks that person's an idiot. The truth is they just pulled out on me because they had a lapse of concentration. Thank goodness we're both fine. So you get these mini opportunities to go into forgiveness of how you're judging what is. Does that answer your question? Bit of a long answer maybe, but does anyone else have anything they want to say or ask or contribute?
I have an interesting thing about how my document is still evolving. In our first round of document creation, I actually created it afterwards. We had like 4 weeks and then we extended it for another 4 weeks. And what I actually needed was 4 weeks in a triad meeting 5 times a week to do the forgiveness process together in terms. So that was my first document. And in the second round, we designed for 8 weeks to start with and with triads. And my plan was actually to refine my document, to group it, to shorten it, because I had, from the forgiveness process, I had so many similar lines, same topic, but all a little bit different because they came from different nuts, non-useful sorts. And I'm still in that process. So I did a bit of it. I finally grouped the things just a month ago. And what happened in between was that some lines were popping up. No forgiveness process. Just one day, a line popped up saying, I am love and compassion, and I'm your line number one.
Right.
It was claiming the
Yeah.
top position, right? And in that way, I got another 4.
How long have you been
And
creating your document? How long have you been creating your document?
well, we had the first round about, it's almost 2 years ago. I think we started August 2 years ago.
Yeah. So until you've solidified it and made it into a resonant document, it can't work
That is what
effectively.
but that is what I'm working on right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know, it's interesting because a little while ago, probably a year and a half or something ago, I was looking for something in my computer, and that original set of affirmations I made before I really knew what a document actually was came up, and I looked at it and it was perfect. And the reason it was perfect was because I'd done the forgiveness piece. So it's not in the words as such. It's in the forgiveness that your document is created. I remember reading it and laughing and thinking, wow, this is quite profound. I wrote some great stuff in this, and it's all who I am. But I hadn't done the forgiveness piece, so the judgment was still there, and that was the bit on my shoulder going, yeah, but you're not, you're fat and ugly, and nobody's going to work with you. Which prevents, so even if you've got judgment about your document, you've still got judgment. So it's back to the forgiveness. It's keep coming back to forgiveness. Gary Marler spoke in Birmingham. I don't know if you were there, weren't you?
Yeah.
And he spoke about clean, clean, clean.
I sometimes hear his voice literally.
And that's what it is. That's keep going back to forgiveness. Clean, clean, clean. I think of it as if a bird poops on your windscreen and you don't clean it off, and then the next day it poops again and you don't clean it off, and then it poops again. But by the end of the week, you can't see through your windscreen. So you're driving around like, oh God, I can't see anything around all this shit on my windscreen. So cleaning in the moment is really important to keep the direction, the vision of where you're going nice and clear.
Yeah, Gary really had a big impact on me with that one.
Yeah,
Literally,
he's amazing.
there are a lot of situations where I literally hear his voice in my head.
Clean, clean,
clean, clean.
Yeah. And that's it's cleaning up your mess. It's like we're going to make a mess. People are going to misunderstand us. I regularly make a mess. I say something and someone misunderstands my intention, or I say something and maybe it comes out harder than I had anticipated, and there's a mess over there. Once you see it, and sometimes I don't see it until it's pointed out to me, but once it's pointed out, then I got to clean this up. Because not just for the other person, but for me, so I can see out of my windscreen. And sometimes it requires going deep again and going, okay, so that's how they perceived me, even though that might not have been my intention, or maybe it was my intention, and you've got to question that. Was it my intention? did I really speak in a way that had judgment behind it? Was I judging them? It's honest work. It's really honest work. And it's for no one else but you. Not really. Everyone else benefits, but it's for your experience of the world. Because we only get to be here for a short period of time in this meat suit, as my son used to call it when he was little. So I would really highly recommend, Renata, that you reach a point where you've got a short enough set of lines that it becomes easy to memorize. You don't really want, I mean, you can have 45 of them if you can remember 45 lines. That would be hard for me. When I learned mine, I found I don't have a screen on the inside of my eyelids that allows me to see words. So I'm not reading it off a little thing inside my head. So for me, I had to tag the end word of one line to the beginning of the next line is how I did it. So there's different ways of memorizing. Let me just pull something out from. So I am presence and deep soul-centered listening. I slow down to the speed of love. Love. I am that love exists on both sides of the veil, and I'm unafraid of living and dying. Dying. That goes to courageous. I am courageous in the face of the unknown and meet challenges with grace, knowing that what I seek lies beyond fear. Oh, fear. I am that I can. My being is primary. It precedes my doing in all I create. So I tag a meaning to the end of one line to the beginning of another line. So it allows my mind to just flow through the entire document. Now, somebody who's got a brilliant visual memory can probably just kind of read it off the inside of their eyelids. Some people paint their documents, some people sing them, so mine's quite poetic. It's got a cadence to it. But that's how I got it from on paper into my brain, and then from my brain into my heart. And really, when I went to see Steve, I was not going to arrive in Steve's office not being able to speak my document fluently. So when we went through it, because that was the first thing he asked me to do was speak my document. And when we went through it, he said to me, so we talked about head to heart. He said, he said, the invitation is for you to allow it to flow through you from above, from the universe, from God, from whatever your belief is, from the other, to have this now just flow through you. So it's quite a sacred thing for me now, speaking my document. And that's what I really hope for everyone who creates a document, is they stay with it. And it's not a one and done, stick it in the drawer and never, it doesn't, it's like antibiotics. If you don't actually take them, they don't work. This doesn't work if you don't get it to the point where it's so part of who you are that it's able to guide your every word, your every action, your every thought. And when you get it wrong, you just forgive yourself again.
Thanks for that. We have another 3 minutes, and Liz have her hand up and waiting.
I didn't see your hand there. I'm
quietly.
sorry.
There we go. Yeah, I just wanted to say that it sounds so familiar about what you said about going through Hell Week with JP and, doing the judgment stuff. And then kind of, or at least that's what it was like for me. I did the judgments. I had a whole list of them. did some of the forgiveness work, but then I kind of, skipped ahead to the main part,
Yeah.
right? And so, like you, I created a document, and it wasn't what it was supposed to be. I guess it didn't feel that way. And so after a while, after maybe a year or so, I kind of put it away, and I only just recently took it out again and started reading it again. And I noticed how some parts of it still felt true. And those were the parts that I had done more of the forgiveness work.
Right. Yeah.
And other parts just completely didn't resonate at all anymore.
And so those are the parts to go back to the forgiveness on. They're just revealing. Once you've done the forgiveness process, they'll sound fine again.
Right.
When you've really done it.
Yeah. So I have just started the process again with JP's course. And like you said, like I'm really aware of the fact that the forgiveness is the most important part of the whole creation process.
Yeah.
And you cannot skip that.
Skip.
And you can't.
That's the work. That's the work, is the forgiveness piece.
Yeah. Exactly. So if anyone else is in the process of creating their document, maybe we could team up and go through it together.
Yeah, and if you've got any questions, or you want to run it by me or something, you just reach out, and I'm happy to spend some time with you. For me, this if every human being on the planet could do this work, what a different planet we'd be living on. JP Morgan is not the banker; he's a coach. John Patrick Morgan, a wonderful guy. Check out his stuff. I think I Am Creating is his business name now. He's a remarkable man.
That brings us to the hour, and to honor everybody's time, if there are no urgent questions left, we close the session here. Thank you very much, Fiona.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
I enjoyed that very much, and I had a few epiphanies. I'm glad I transcribed it so I can go back to that.
What's the easiest or your favorite way for us to get a hold of you? If anybody wants, anybody that's here wants to.
You can find me on Facebook through or Messenger.
Okay.
Generally, I am on LinkedIn quite a lot, but I'm quite strategic about my LinkedIn space. So best to connect on Facebook and Messenger. Yeah. Or do join us if you're interested in Way of Mastery. Do join us in the school group. I don't know if we can put that link in the transcript or something if anyone's interested to be in that school group. And it's a free community with different levels, so you can jump in at the free level and just get your feet wet. Thank you, everyone. This was a long time in coming. We actually had arranged this about a year ago, but this was the perfect time.
Then thank you, everybody, for coming, and you are welcome to come back in 4 weeks. We do this conversations every last Thursday of a month, and we have Shazia end of July.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Fiona. That was great.
Thank you, Pragna. Pragna.
That's fine.
My dyslexic brain got the G in the end round the wrong way the first time.
It's completely okay. It's good to see everyone as well. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.